Hi, I'm Liron Cohen.
And I'm Mimi Torchin.
And you're listening to Lady Parts TV, the podcast.
Whee!
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Oh, I thought you were going to do greetings and salutations.
Oh, I could.
Greetings
and salutations.
Hi, everybody.
We sound sort of like those NPR gals on Saturday
Well, you know, I've never
Night
actually
Live.
used my radio voice here, but I could. But why would I?
Exactly.
All right, let's get the stats out of the way so we can tell you lots of things. We tallied 25 shows, and I have to say I'm very impressed with
Excellent.
our stats this week. Number of episodes written or co-written by women is 15, which is 60%, and directed by women, 11, which is 44%. We're getting closer to
and there
half
were quite a few shows that were both written and directed by women.
Yes, I guess it helped that we watched a bunch of Shonda shows last night.
Yeah, well, we've been having a pretty good,
not bad at all.
Pretty good week.
So, we're going to start by telling you about a new show.
Yes, it's called The Red Line. It's Sundays on CBS. The first double episode premiered last Sunday.
It's created by Caitlin Parrish and Erica Weiss and executive produced by Ava DuVernay. So, the pedigree, very good. Starring Noah Wyle. And we don't know many of the people in the cast, but they're very good. Emayatsi Koyanaldi, again, hope I'm not butchering the name as I sometimes do, plays Tia.
If you're listening, Emayatsi, we're sorry.
So sorry. Please send us the correct pronunciation. Aliyah Royale plays Jira. Enuko Okuma from Rookie Blue is in it too.
Corey Reynolds is briefly.
Yeah, well, he might be there in flashbacks. And
Maybe.
the story is a very...
and Noelle Fisher, who plays the cop.
Right. The story is unfortunately very relevant these days. It's about an African-American man who is killed by a cop for absolutely doing nothing wrong.
He's a doctor.
He's a doctor. He's just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he's the wrong color
Picking
for the
up
situation. But what's really kind of revolutionary about this show is that the story is about an interracial gay couple. Noah Wyle and Corey Reynolds are the couple, and Corey Reynolds is the husband who is killed. So it's about
very quickly. So
it's not a spoiler. That's the premise.
It's the whole premise of the.
And the show is described as about the healing process of three families. And the three families that we're talking about is the family of Noah Wyle and Corey Reynolds and their adopted daughter, Jira. On the other hand of this, there's the cop and his cop family, should we say. And then there's the family of Tia, who is, we find out also very quickly, not a spoiler, that she was the one who gave up Jira for adoption. The birth mother. And she is she's a politician. Mm-hmm. She's running for a very, very big race.
For an alderman.
In Chicago, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
again, crime in Chicago, man.
But I would say that that's not really what I look at this show as being about. I mean, yes, I'm sure that they will want to touch on all these different aspects because the cop... You know, to me, it was a pretty clear. Why on earth would you? He didn't even tell him to put his hands up or stop or whatever.
He was scared.
Right. And there's racism, very subliminal racism that people don't even acknowledge that then affects their actions, especially in stressful situations. And I hope that the show will explore all of that.
It also shows you some of the political workings, as we often see on cop shows, inside the department. The shooter is part of the Irish Brotherhood, a very powerful group within the police department in Chicago, at least. There's all kinds of things that go on.
And then, of course, Tia adds the political elements, right. Which also in Chicago is extremely corrupt. And she's a woman, so there will be aspects of being a woman in politics.
She's a woman of color.
Right, exactly. So the show... One of the things that bothers me about it is that there's way too much music.
Way too much. I mean, this is such a pet peeve of mine. It used to be something that I used to always complain about Young and Restless in my soap opera journalism days. You do not have to have constant music underscoring what your emotions should be.
It really
it's
undermines.
so distracting.
Yeah, it undermines the seriousness of the show. It cheapens it.
It does.
And then when there is a moment that calls for music, which there were moments that called for music, then it's kind of like it's not. It doesn't stand
throwaway.
out.
No, it doesn't make it special.
But it's a very important topic.
I liked it very much,
and I love Eva DuVernay, and I'm always happy to see new things from her. So The Red Line on CBS on Sundays. We encourage you to check it out. Next up
is a show that usually, makes my heart race with delight, and it still does,
and also with rage, but for content, not for the execution in any way, shape, or form. This is The Good Fight. Season 3 is right now on, as we like to say, fuck you, CBS On Demand. CBS All Access is what it's called. Oh, right.
And because we want their shows to be successful, but we don't want them to be successful on this platform.
We're not gonna, we've already talked about it so many times.
I know,
Our point is a major network should not have a paid streaming service.
No, and they're all going to do it.
They are so filthy rich, these people, to begin with, that if you add another streaming service, it becomes untenable.
It's like holding out your best, most interesting material for the rich.
However,
for people who will pay.
There is one caveat, though, that a show like The Good Fight would never be able to exist on CBS regularly. It has to be something that
it would exist, but it wouldn't exist
in its form that it is
as
now.
Adult.
Yes, of course,
in its adult.
Which is what we appreciate.
Yes,
about
we do.
It. So,
it's a grown-up film. People talk the way they talk.
Not even that.
Sex,
I could live without the sex and the fuck you fight. But what this is all political, outrageously political. They're not ashamed of blatantly
hating Trump.
Yes,
although
and
there are a couple of people
referring
who don't hate
him, having what seems to be Melania Trump, but then maybe not. We don't know. I don't think we actually know. So they do a lot of really, really controversial real life stuff that I don't know that they would be
take
able
to a next level sometimes of absurdity and
they would alienate a lot of audiences. And CBS is a very conservative channel.
So I wish
there are pros and cons.
There are, but I would feel a lot better about it if they didn't have commercials. If you didn't have to pay even more to get it without commercials,
I know
that would be a perk.
Anyway,
the show is phenomenal. Christine Baranski is my god.
I know, and it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Christine.
Rose Leslie is in it, Chris Jumbo, Sarah Steele, who I adore,
Audra
McDonald, Delroy Lindo, Nyambi, Michael Boatman, and unfortunately this season, Michael Sheen, who plays the most repulsive character ever created for television.
And I know that they like to throw in these characters for conflict or to be exhilarating in some way, but to me it's a distraction.
It's a total distraction, because especially when he's in court, you'd say he would be in jail for contempt already.
They wouldn't tolerate it.
None of this stuff would be tolerated. I wouldn't tolerate him in my personal life for more than 3 seconds. He is a repellent human being.
However, part of the show, which, by the way, in case you don't know, is a spin-off, or it's kind of a sequel, actually, to The Good Wife, from Robert and Michelle King, who did The Good Wife, and joined with Phil Alden Robinson. Some part of the show is kind of its treading lightly on the absurd, and they oftentimes exaggerate things to emphasize how absurd they really are. And I think that part of Michael Sheen's outrageousness is he is the representative of where we are now, that facts have no meaning, that people just lie, that nothing's at stake and everything is in stake. He just kind of personifies everything that's wrong.
I think they went too far.
I agree, because it makes it...
I think he is. I think he is everything that we hate about our country right now, our leadership. He is mega MAGA. And
even though he's not politically, I don't think so, but he uses whatever means he needs to achieve his goal, and he is outrageous too much.
It's just, it's over the top, and this show doesn't need over the top.
But if we put him aside, the show is still
is
brilliant.
Fantastic. It's so magnificently written. It's so fabulously acted. The topics are fascinating. Right now, there's a bunch of professional women who are leading rebellion online.
Kind of what you said about when they go low, we go lower, using
right.
their own tools to get back
against
at them.
And I think they even said when they go low, we go lower. And that's what I said is what we should have had on our T-shirts. We might have won.
I think this show currently embodies everything that we feel. And so there's something so satisfying about seeing people who are so enraged and just don't know what to do. And so we sympathize with them, but at the same time, they're so smart. And they find ways to do things.
Do.
And this year, by the way...
And not always ethical.
No, but again, it's kind of like...
you got to fight fire with fire.
It's all about how do you live in this reality. And this year, by the way, another thing that they have been doing is every episode they introduce a topic or an issue that you might not understand fully about how the media works, how politics works, how fake news is created, what a Russian hacks.
It's done like a cartoon.
So they do a little song.
And the song is very Randy Rainbow-ish in that it's very smart.
And they explain it to you.
Right.
So it's to me, there are a couple
very
of things.
Very satirical.
And there are things that I learned there about
absolutely.
How things really work. And I was like, oh my God, that's how Russian trolls work. You know, it's very fascinating. The show is very important.
Yes, it is. And not only is it very important, it's highly entertaining in a brain-tickling kind of a way. And I really appreciate it and love it.
And it's all about the women.
All about the women. Yes, of course, the men are important. There's some of the episodes are centered around them, but you just don't care as much about them. The women run the show, and they're the most interesting of all the characters.
And by the way, there are a lot of issues of racism. This is a mostly African American firm, or at least it started
off that way, right?
And there are issues of racism both inside and outside the firm. It raises so many important topics and deals with them in such a smart way because it's a smart show.
It's a very adult, slightly intellectual show, and it's also hilarious.
And if you can get it, if you want to pay for it, whatever, it's your choice. We're just saying The Good Fight is an excellent show, and I just, again, conflicted, but I love the show no matter what platform it's on.
Yes.
The Good Fight, currently on CBS All Access. Okay, now I'm going to quickly tell you about the exciting news from Hulu. They have a few interesting things that I wanted to tell you about. So first of all, the third season trailer for The Handmaid's Tale has been released. The season is premiering June 5th, and I have to tell you.
Did you say June?
I did say June. I don't think that was a coincidental, the premiere decision. Anyway, the trailer looks so exciting. The tagline is kind of like the birth of a revolution.
It looks hopeful.
June practically had a smirk on her face throughout the entire 2.5 minute trailer. She and Serena Joy, I think, are going to join together.
This time for real, because they have been reluctant allies before.
Yes. It looks so good.
Well, first of all, we know it's so good.
But I'll tell you what excites me. The first season was very oppressive. The second season, there was a lot of the beginning of agency. The third season looks so much to me, if the trailer is true, that it's going to be about fighting back. And it's going to be about taking back the power. Right. And that is exciting.
Flipping the story.
Because when you have a show like that, you can't stay in that oppressive mode for so long.
We won't watch it. It's
too
painful.
hard. It's too hard. You have to start giving them power, making
an agency.
Yes. And so I'm so excited. You can be sure that we're going to review it when the time comes. Also from Hulu, really quickly, Veronica Mars, the reboot, is happening July 26th. I saw a little teaser. It looks fun.
I guess she'll be all grown up.
I never watched the original show, but I definitely want to watch this one.
I did on occasion, but I so love
Kristen Bell. She's so adorable.
There's nothing she can do that isn't good.
I know.
And Veronica Mars is one of her...
It looks fun.
It's iconic and sweet, yeah.
Also, they've greenlit?
Yes.
2 new projects that sound exciting to us. One is 9 Perfect Strangers from Nicole Kidman, who is now a creator, not only a star.
Just like Brad Pitt.
Bruna Papandrea and David E. Kelly, and it's based on a novel by Leanne Moriarty. And it's this kind of crazy premise about this health and wellness resort where 9 strangers come in. They kind of come to get better, and then Nicole Kidman runs it, and it just says that they have no idea what they got.
Yeah,
what they got themselves
I think they
into.
think they're going to a spa, and I don't think that's what they're going
And
to.
I don't know if they mean that in the surreal sci-fi element, or if they mean that in just like as that she's insane element, or that it's satirical. I have
or
no
it could
idea.
be both, or all three.
Right, I haven't read the book.
I have a feeling it's not going to be satirical.
But I hope it's not going to be something supernatural either.
No, I don't think it'll be supernatural.
Doesn't sound like a usual Nicole Kidman fare. Anyway, it sounds great.
There is no usual Nicole Kidman fare. She's very eclectic. I love that about her.
It's true. I haven't read the book. If anybody has read the book and wants to let me know what it's about, I mean, I can Google it, but it's much more fun to come from you. Finally, The Dropout is a limited series that is executive produced by and starring Kate McKinnon. And again, I could stop right there and I would be happy. And it's inspired by the ABC News podcast about the real life CEO Elizabeth Holmes, who was kind of heralded as the next Steve Jobs, but then completely blew it up.
Yes, her company was called Theranos. I didn't know anything about it, but she goes from the top to the bottom, and this is her journey, I think.
And Kate McKinnon to me, I don't know if this is supposed to be slightly humorous, but even if it's dead serious, Kate McKinnon is going to infuse it with so much wink.
Exactly.
That I'm so excited to see
I can just hear her now. Anyway, I also hope it'll be a stretch for her, something, a character.
To explore new aspects.
To explore, yes, more aspects of her talent, which is enormous.
Absolutely. So lots to look forward to from Hulu, and you can be sure that we will tell you all about it when the time comes, and you will not be left in the dark. And before I hand the baton to Mimi for the last, oh my God, you still have Game of Thrones to do too. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you briefly about a show that you should pay attention to. It's a 5-episode miniseries premiering on HBO this Monday, coming Monday, May 6th. It's called Chernobyl. I'm guessing that just from the name,
a comedy.
Just from the name, you can kind of figure out what it's about. Created by Craig Mazin and directed by Johan Renck, and starring Jared Harris, Stellan Skarsgård, and Emily Watson. Of course,
excellent cast,
excellent, superb cast, and of course, the subject matter I think is pretty self-explanatory. It's about Chernobyl, the explosion, the ramifications, and the causes. So this 5-episode miniseries is going to explore all of that. I think the emphasis is going to be on the brave people who came to help. Apparently, there were hundreds of thousands of people who came to help, even though the risks and the dangers. But our three main stars are physicists, people who are going to really look into why it happened. Also,
there's going to certainly be things about politics in it because
corruption
always leads to the worst disasters.
And Stellan Skarsgård plays the Soviet deputy prime minister. So it's going to be excellent. Anyway, Chernobyl premiering on HBO May 6th, and definitely worth your attention. Finally, before we get to the Game of Thrones coverage, we have an old movie review for you, but not completely irrelevant.
No, certainly not irrelevant, especially since we just passed Holocaust Memorial Day. This is a 1999 TV movie that you can see on Amazon Prime for free. There might be other places, but I'm not quite sure. It's called The Devil's Arithmetic, directed by Donna Deitch, Desert Hearts.
That's the other connection. That's why I meant that it wasn't completely out of left field, because Donna Deitch directed Desert Hearts, and this is completely different.
And it's based on a novel by Jane Yolen, and it stars Kirsten Dunst, Brittany Murphy, Louise Fletcher, Paul Freeman, and Mimi Rogers. And I do believe that it seems to me that it was an after-school special. It certainly
was geared toward families.
Geared towards families and a teenage experience.
Had kind of an educational bent to it.
But it just made me realize how much I miss those afternoon specials, how well done they were, how important they were to educating kids about things
and families sometimes too
in the world that they didn't really know much about and should know about. It takes place.
It started conversations. Also, I love that in families.
Yes,
it started conversations.
It did. And the premise is sound simple. It's not, of course. A 16-year-old American girl has an apathetic approach to her family's Judaism, as do many sort of Reform Jews, and she goes to a Seder, and she's reluctantly, and she's a little bit bored, and through some sort of a trick of fate, we don't know, they don't explain it, and except for the fact, let's say it's an homage, in many ways to The Wizard of Oz. She is transported through time. She's an American girl to 1941 in a small Polish village where the Nazis have just begun to send people to the camps. It's very well done. It's very emotional. Kirsten Dunst is a very good lead, but almost even better as Brittany Murphy, who plays her cousin, and
Louise Fletcher, who reduced me to tears.
There's an element of the past connecting with the present that's very touching. This is the most sympathetic role I've ever seen Louise Fletcher play. And it's very difficult to watch in places.
They don't spare you.
They don't spare you. They don't make the horrors any less horrible.
I mean, it's not the hardest depiction I've ever seen, but I was surprised.
Again, I do think it's an afternoon special type of a show.
I expected it to be a little more sanitized for the sake of the teenagers. Even
was not sanitized.
No, it wasn't.
Was very powerful. Everybody did a wonderful job. You felt their pain and their fear and their courage. It's a very, very good film. If you want to teach your kids about, your teenagers about the Holocaust, it's a good thing to show them.
And yes, it's about the Holocaust, but more than that, it's about appreciating history and appreciating what your grandparents have to tell you. And, we always say, oh, if I only knew to ask these questions when I was young, and then when I already had them, it was too late. Nobody was left to tell. And I think a lot of teenagers these days are very disconnected. And it goes to, I'm sorry, I know I'm making this longer, but if you've been following our social media, Eva's Stories, which is a new innovative way to tell young people about the Holocaust and do it as if the girl in the Holocaust, what if she had Instagram?
What if she had Instagram?
And I know that some people said it was disrespectful to the Holocaust.
I don't know who would say that.
There were people who said
People without
that.
sensibilities.
Well,
and people who don't understand the importance of media.
Listen, the Holocaust is a very, very important and very emotional topic for a lot of people. Everybody can feel however they feel. I personally feel, and I do have a very intense personal connection to the Holocaust. Whatever way you can teach kids these days, whatever means of communication that they speak today, that you can connect with them, I think it was a very powerful way.
It had great immediacy. It was done with phenomenally good production values, wonderful actors. It was very moving. You felt as though you were watching something happen live.
And most importantly, they chose to use the diary of a girl who wanted to be a news photographer. And she never made it past Auschwitz. Pretty much as soon as they took them, that was it.
That was it.
And so
it's based on her diaries.
It's based on her diaries, and publishing those diaries was a way to fulfill her dream even after her death. And to me, when I saw that, I started crying.
Yes.
So it was honoring her memory. It was honoring the memories of all the people who did not have a voice and whose stories are never going to be told. And it was done in a way that could communicate to a whole new generation that almost is left without people to actually tell them in their words. I think it's important.
Yes, and it was an immediate look at their lives as it happened.
Yeah.
It was very, very fulfilling.
Yeah, so that was, by the way, Eva's Stories. If you want to go to our Instagram.
Eva.com, right?
Eva.stories.
Eva.
That's the name of the
Stories.
account, EVA.stories. You can also go on our social media, on Lady Parts TV on Instagram, and there's a link there in one of our previous posts. Do watch the whole, it's archived. So even though the stories only last 24 hours, they do archive them later. You can watch the whole thing. And The Devil's Arithmetic. Highly recommended. The premise sounds a little weird because of the Wizard of Oz thing, but it really works. It really, really does. And now, Game of Thrones. Wait, should I do my...
Yes, please.
Da 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 da.
There will be spoilers, so if you haven't seen episode 3, The Long Night of Game of Thrones, then it was lovely having you with us. See you next week, because there will be spoilers.
And before we get here, just in case some listeners do leave us, thank you for joining us. ladypartstv@gmail.com if there's anything at all you want to say to us.
Okay. Now, this was the long-awaited, really climax to me in many ways of the whole series. And we still have 3 episodes to go, which will be the battle finally for the Iron Throne. This was the fight between the world of Westeros and the dead. And it was, I don't think most people really expected that they were going to come out of this alive. And by the grace of the writers, they lived to fight another day. But unfortunately, as brilliant as it was, and it was amazing, it was shot practically in the dark.
Didn't you say that?
I said there was a rumor that I'd heard someone say that maybe there had been a problem at broadcast time. If so, it would be a very, very expensive breakdown of something technical, because this is probably the most expensive hour and 20 minutes of 28 minutes or whatever of television ever made. It was so spectacular as to be mind-blowing. And even though it was thrilling while it was going on, we couldn't see really what was happening. I mean, there were moments like when the Red Witch lit the swords of the Dothraki, and the Ring of Fire lit up, and then she lit the trenches in the Ring of Fire. That was the only time you could see anything, was when there was fire. Otherwise, there was a lot of sound and fury, and I know it was signifying something, but we couldn't really see what much was going on. But it doesn't matter, because the important things were still there to see. And to me, the build-up to this, the 7 seasons long build-up to this moment actually had me sick to my stomach. My stomach was in knots when I sat down to watch this show. I can't imagine any other show ever doing to me what this show does to me. And this episode was so epic that the fact that you couldn't see it all, you could see enough to know that it was some of the best television you'll ever see. So what we saw, the heroics, the tragedies, they were absolute masterpieces of storytelling and acting and effects. I was upset because I couldn't tell. At one point it looked like Brienne had died, but I don't think she has, because if she had died, she would have deserved a better death than us not knowing whether or not she had died. But I think that she's still there. One of the great moments was the heroics and death of little Lyanna Mormont when she killed the giant with her last breath. She is such a towering character for a tiny little girl, basically. I don't think she's more than a young teenager. And she had a fitting death. The cat and mouse game in the crypt with Arya was reminiscent to me of the kitchen scene in Jurassic Park when the raptors were chasing the kids. It was really that scary, that brilliant. The only thing you were pretty certain of is that Arya wasn't going to die in that crypt. But we didn't know that until later when, of course, Arya, who else, saved the day. Theon, he had a heroic death trying to save Bran from the Night King. Bran was always the Night King's special project, because Bran held all of history in him. And it was personal between them. So when he died protecting him, he got his manhood back, so to speak. Jorah's death was thrilling but sad. I love him. But of course, the greatest moment of all was Arya killing the Night King and saving the world, because once the Night King was dead, all of the rest of the zombies crumbled. And it's fitting that it was Arya, because Arya is the bravest, the most heroic. She's a professional assassin, and she has the biggest heart of anybody on this show. I just love that she was the savior of everything. And I have to say that Game of Thrones is the most feminist show on television. It really, really is. I mean, we love the men in the show, and the people who are left, most of the villainous men are dead. So these are all men we care about. But they're secondary to the women on this show. The women just overpower everybody in their bravery, in their heart, in their raison d'être. And now they're marching toward Cersei's. And I'm just wondering who is going to have the honor of killing Cersei.
Who would you like it to be?
I think it would be interesting if it were Jaime, but Jaime doesn't really have reason to kill Cersei. Arya has reason to kill Cersei. Sansa has reason to kill Cersei.
What about Daenerys?
Daenerys doesn't really have a reason to kill Cersei, except as a warrior and battling for the throne.
So you're talking about revenge killings.
I'm talking about revenge, exactly. And by the way, just going back a second, when I started to breathe again, feeling that Arya for sure was not going to die, when Melisandre gave her pep talk before going into battle, and she said to her something that Arya's fighting teacher had said to her. "What do we say to death?" And Arya answered, "Not today." Fortunately, Arya will live to fight another day, and I think Arya should end up on the Iron Throne. Just my own opinion, and I'm sure that of millions of other people. Daenerys has a dragon left. She might have two. I think that even though our armies are diminished, Cersei doesn't know what's going to hit her. And I'm sure Yara will come with her navy, and it's going to be...
she's busy on Gentleman Jack.
She's not that busy on Gentleman Jack. Believe me, she's much more exciting as Yara. So I'm looking forward to the battle for the Iron Throne. It seems that it might be an anticlimax after the Battle of the Dead, but I don't think anything on this show could be anything but brilliant.
Okay, thank you, baby. And we will have another Game of Thrones review for you, of course, next week. Thank you for joining us. LadyBardsTV@gmail.com as always, and we will see you here, or you will hear us here next week as always.
Bye.
Bye.